Well, what is going on, everybody? Welcome, everybody, into the Aftermath on the Overreaction Sports Network, powered by Believe. My name is Joe Miller. I'm the voice of the Aftermath, and you can find me on Twitter at Joe Miller Wired. Do me a favor. Please please subscribe. If you are consuming this podcast or vidcast, I should say, right now on YouTube, please do us a favor. Hit that like button, hit that thumbs up button, smash it, as the young folk like to say. And please do us a favor and subscribe as well if you can. Click the get notifications. If you're listening to this in podcast form, which I try to say this at every show now, if you are a faithful YouTube viewer of our content here on the Overreaction Sports Network, if you ever miss an episode and you're driving down the street or just doing stuff at the house, you can always find all of our content in podcast form on any podcast platform. Just type in Overreaction Buff and you will get our stuff. Did not mean to rhyme right there, but alas, here we are on a Victory Monday. But yes, please please subscribe, please leave comments. We do the best we can to respond to comments, actually even post show. And if you can leave a review and tell a friend, that would be great as well. Happy Victory Monday to all of you, Bills Mafia. What are we, 9-2 at this point? Victory Mondays here on the Overreaction Sports Network are brought to you by Big Bear Barbecue Supply Store in Depew on French Road. The only barbecue supply store in Buffalo, featuring everything you need to be the king of the grill: rubs, sauces, pellet smokers, classes, you name it. Joe Green, the owner of Big Bear Barbecue Supply Store, has it. Both local and national products you can't get anyplace else in Buffalo. And yes, for those of you members of Grills Mafia that are loyal to our local products, he also carries all of Q42's products. So do yourself a favor, go see Joe. Tell him the guys at Overreaction sent you. You'll get 10% off whatever you purchase there. Your exclusive source for sauce in Buffalo. Stop going to the hardware store. Go see Joe Green at Big Bear Barbecue on French Road in Depew. The Buffalo Bills stacked yet another win yesterday by ruining the Chiefs' perfect record. They did so at Highmark Field during an incredible, beautiful fall day here in Buffalo in November. Josh Allen with a 26-yard run on 4th and 2. You guys know the story. You know what happened. They go up 2 possessions, and they put the game away, sealing it with the Terrell Bernard interception across the middle, across his body, intended for Travis Kelce. Terrell Bernard seals that game, puts it away, but the game was kind of in hand even before that. With the new rules for onside kicks, inside of 2 minutes or even at 2:17, wherever it was that they got the ball back, being down 2 possessions is just about impossible. I think there's only been 2 converted onside kicks this year. So it would have been a pretty incredible steep climb up. Welcome to everybody that's in the comments section right now. Richard Rush, Riz Harris, my guy Brian Bowers, Be No Doubt, good to see you. Oh, John Fina is in the comments section. What's going on, John? I'll see you at 8:00 tonight, Eastern Standard Time. Nathan E., thanks to all of you joining in the comments section, and those of you that are just listeners. Like we always say, whether this podcast finds you around a cup of coffee, which I've got right here, at the gym with your AirPods in, on the drive to work, or watching me live right now, let me just say one more time before we get started officially, welcome. It is, as I said, Victory Monday. I'm wearing the t-shirt from Homage. You can find the link for this t-shirt in the notes section of this video, this vidcast. First things first. So there's not many content creators, I don't think, and even national media guys that check themselves when they're wrong. I like to be that guy. I spent all of last week, little house cleaning for you. I spent all of last week talking about the Buffalo Bills, that they need to stack wins so that they could secure one of the 2 bye weeks, as I felt they couldn't catch the Chiefs anyway. So act like you're going to catch the Chiefs, right? And even though you probably can't, if you incur or come across a 3rd loss, which was prior to this week, and the Ravens are at 3 losses, the Ravens that effectively have the tiebreaker over you for seeding. My implications, what I was implying through the whole thing, is that the Bills need to get the 2 seed, right? So that they can have that second bye. I'm an old man, and nobody checked me last week. None of y'all checked me. You're allowed to check me, whether you check me in the comment sections on YouTube, whether you check me on Twitter, whether you check me on Facebook, Instagram. Check me. If you know that I've said something that's probably not accurate and it's a Monday, please check me. I will not get offended. I will not be upset. And while the latter is still true, that the Bills don't want to play as far as what I was saying before last week, that the Bills don't want to play the Chiefs and the Ravens. They want to play one of those teams. So you want to get a seat, seated as high as possible. While that is still true, the reality is there is no second bye since 2020 when they changed the playoff layouts. And 7 teams enter the playoffs now for the AFC and the NFC. Only one team gets the bye, the first round bye. And the Bills in the last 4 years of being the AFC East champions, the closest they've come is the 2 seed, which was last year. But they need to get that first round bye. So my apologies to all of you for not misleading you, but for just misspeaking. I don't know where my brain was last week, but it was what it was. So now that I've got that kind of behind me, it was an electric day, an absolute electric day in Buffalo yesterday. The weather was great. The tailgates were great. I hung out at the Red Zone tailgate for a bit. I hung out at the Rock Pile tailgate for a bit. Joe Green from Big Bear Barbecue was there cooking with Drew and Chris. What did he do? Shotgun shells. He did something, and they were a pretty big hit as far as that goes. But he was there showing off his stuff, and I'm hoping that we can get Joe Green from Big Bear out there for more of the tailgates this year, so that you guys can meet him. You can come around and try his food and see what all the stuff is about. Because even the classes that he does, like if you are a novice, if you're an amateur barbecue or smoking type of person like myself, his classes are legit. But everything was fantastic. And then the flyover happens. The flyover was one of the best flyovers I've ever seen. I think the best one I ever saw was in Kansas City when they did the stealth bomber flyover. Just because to be that close with a stealth bomber that close to the ground, it was just a cool experience. But this one, it was a 4 helicopter flyover, 2 Apaches, 2 Blackhawks. They were in formation and they were low. Like at one point I was concerned they were going to hit the cabling that stretches across the stadium. They're coming across and like they're just waving, and you could see like the looks on their faces. They were so low, but it was cool. The whole thing was just legendary. That flyover, it was timed perfectly, which not the Bills, but for some reason we have a hard time timing these flyovers at our stadium. But it was just everything leading up to the game was great. And then obviously you guys know the game was great. And I the game started and I didn't want it to be a bigger deal just because it was the Chiefs. Like the whole week leading up, just win. Doesn't matter who your opponent is. Sean McDermott tried to tell that to the team too. In what did he say? In 100 years, Von Miller said. Sean McDermott told the team, gathered the team and said, in 100 years, they're not going to care about week 11 in 2024. So just win this game. That's all that matters. And even the team was like, I think he said F that, like this, this game matters to us. But I did my best to try to make it not more than it was. We've beaten the Chiefs in the regular season, the last, 3 years rolling. So if you beat them again in the regular season, great. You've proven you can beat them in the regular season. At the end of the day, the proof that needs to happen, the Bills need to prove that they can beat them in the postseason. I'm not telling you guys anything that you don't already know. But the reality is we just needed to stack the win. Just win, right? Just win, baby. As Al Davis said, I think I said it last year too. Stack it, don't look back. And as Josh Allen always tells us, and he said it in the post-game pressers yesterday, just go 1-0. Every week, go 1-0. So as much as this is the Chiefs, as much as this is Pat Mahomes, as much as the national media was making a big deal about it, which they should, it was the game of the week. As much as it was the national game at 4:30 for CBS, as much as the Today Show or the NFL Today crew was on site in Buffalo, apparently jumping through tables, don't make it more than it is. It's just another football game. And the Bills did just that. They came out with the victory. Had control of this football game, dare I say, the whole way. Yes, there was a point when they were down 14-13, but it never felt what I would call at any point out of control. My apologies as I cough into my microphone. Hopefully I muted it in time. Couple things, not going to keep you long today. Couple things that stood out to me and still do kind of stand out to me. 3 things actually, to be exact, that I'm going to go through with you. And then I'm going to let you go for the rest of your day until about 8 o'clock tonight when we do the Off Tackle with John Fina show. Hang on. I'm still a little bit hoarse from screaming yesterday, which I'm generally not a screamer at football games, but I did my fair share of yelling yesterday. Sean McDermott, first and foremost, in my opinion, and we talked about it on the post-game show last night. We've talked about Sean McDermott and coaching. And at a furied pace, I would say, over the last couple of years. The first, when Sean McDermott first got here, he breaks the drought. Then they missed the playoffs to draft Josh Allen. 2019, they go to the playoffs again with the team that a lot of people felt they maybe shouldn't go to the playoffs with, specifically because of national media folks talking about Josh Allen not being good. If you remember back before 2019 started, several national media or national people, experts that do statistics and analytics and all that stuff basically said that, the Bills before 2019 started, there's no way the Bills could ever make the playoffs or go to the playoffs with Josh Allen as quarterback. They did just that. AFC East champions in 2020, AFC East champions in 2021. And then for some reason, doubt began to creep in as far as Sean McDermott goes, his coaching style, how he is in game. I feel like we've talked about it on the post-game show the last couple of weeks. He has a comfort level right now with his coordinators that I don't feel like he has ever had before. Dable, Frazier, Dennison was here, I think his first year when Tyrod Taylor was here. I just feel like Sean has kind of entered a different phase. This was, in my opinion, this Chiefs game, possibly, most likely for me. I'm not speaking for you. I'm not speaking for what you have watched and witnessed. I'm not speaking for how you feel. This was probably the best game that I have seen him coach as the leader of the Buffalo Bills, as like in his tenure here. And he did it against the one coach who was undeniably, in my opinion, better than him in Andy Reid. Sean McDermott in this game had the exact right amount of control in this game, right? It didn't feel like he was pressing. It didn't feel like he was trying to force something to happen or force something not to happen. He had the right amount of delegation in this game, in my opinion, to his coordinators and his players, and trusting them as well. The game didn't seem, I don't want to use the phrase too big for him, but that's the only phrase that I can think of right now. Like it felt like he was okay in the big moments. And something that stands out to me that they've started talking about is this idea, and it's a leadership idea, decision-making idea, of removing the in-game decision that you plan to make, right? So, if this happens, if we come across this is what we're going to do. We're scripting these moments, so you go through and they're probably on a whiteboard or in a notepad or someplace. Like, these are all of the situations, conditions, situational football things. And if these things happen, these are the decisions we're going to make, and we're not going to go back on them. We've heard McDermott, and I think Josh, and possibly a couple other people, it might have been Joe, I think it was Joe Brady, talk about this notion, this idea of separating the result from the decision. We believe in this decision. This was the decision we planned beforehand. We stuck with the decision. We made the decision. And regardless of what the result ended up being, we're not going to change our mind on the decision that was made. Which, I'm going to be honest with you, as a leader, that is immeasurably freeing. Freeing to the point of like, no, we all agreed, there was consensus that if we came across this speed bump, if we came across this roadblock, if we came across this, whatever you want to call it, pothole, yada, 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 we're all on the same page. This is the decision we're not going to panic. We've thought through this. We're going to make this decision. And whatever the result is from the execution of the play, which is completely dependent upon the players on your team, as well as the defense that you face or the offense that you face and how they execute, we're not going to change our thoughts on the decision process based on the result of what happened. And I feel like they're living in this space. Now, here's the thing. It's all well and good, and it sounds great until you start to see a pattern where the decision that we want to make ends up failing multiple times. They're not in that position. Right now, dare I say, they're in a position where a lot of these pre-scripted situational moments and the decisions that they want to make in those moments are working. Sean McDermott is very much comfortable in these games, even in high-pressure situations, high-risk situations, going for it on fourth down in his own territory, just different things like that. Even in this game, he knew what they were playing for. The coaching staff knew what they were playing for, and he trusted them. He delegated decisions to his staff. He delegated execution of the plays to the players. even with him knowing what they were playing for, which, let's be honest, they're trying to get within a half a game of the number 1 seed, right? Kansas City. Who they were playing against mattered as well. And they didn't, as I said, coach from a position of fear. In this game, I would probably tell you that you could pick apart McDermott's decision-making and find 2 things. We talked about one of them on the post-game show last night. There was a couple of decisions that were made that were a little questionable. The lost challenge, clearly I don't think that is a Sean McDermott, I've got the flag and I'm going to throw it. I'm going to make all this decision myself. John Perry, former referee, is in the booth. It's his job to basically see the replay as quick as possible, call a timeout. He probably would signal down and say, hey, call a timeout on this. I need more time to look at it if it's a crucial play. If not, he's got 25 to 40 seconds, depending on the play, to determine if he wants to signal down to Sean McDermott and challenge it. I'm guessing that's what happened. They lost the challenge. You could put that on McDermott if you want, but in that day, in that moment, he's delegated and is trusting, right, John Perry. The other one is the 4th and 3. I believe it was a 4th and 3 interception that Josh Allen threw, the second to last drive in the first half, where Dawson Knox stopped his route. What's interesting about this play is the very different decisions or very different beliefs on what should have happened in this play. So even on the post-game show, they went for it, which is generally speaking what we all want. We all want them to go for it, unless there's 3 easy points to get to put you up by 2 possessions. It's late in the game. I mean, nobody's, I'm going to say, stupid enough not to do that. You're not going for it if 3 points put you up 2 possessions late, right? But even in this situation, you've got Jay Spence the King, who's like, I'd have taken the points. Like, what are you doing? Why are you not taking the points there? The Bills chose to go for it. Which I was fine with. Jerry Ostrowski is like, I would have punted. So even in that moment, in that situation, I would say that there's a varied idea of what the Bills should have done there. And those are probably the only 2 moments that you could pick apart from this football game where you're just questioning what happened. Now, Joe Brady did make a couple poor play calls, in my opinion, but that's not on Sean McDermott. And, obviously Joe Brady is given that power and that right to make play calls, and he's been incredibly successful this year. They went into this game knowing that the Chiefs are one of the best defenses, if not the best defense in the league, especially against the run. And they pounded the ball into the teeth of that defense over and over again. And as much as the running game wasn't super successful, that clock management control thing worked because Josh Allen, right, executed when Josh Allen needed to, which is all part of the soup that becomes the layout and effectively how this game is going to go. But when it mattered, when the pressure was on, they clearly had a plan and they've stuck to it. And I feel like this is something that they're doing, as I said earlier, something that they're doing different. I could be wrong. This is maybe something they've always done. They've always had situational plans, but we're starting to hear phrases around those plans leak out in the pressers that we've never heard before, which makes me feel like they're addressing or they're meeting these situational moments a little bit different. And I have been a big critic of Sean McDermott and his coaching staff at times about situational football. So I would say this, it feels like very much, and you can agree with me or disagree with me, it feels like they have addressed or are working to address these situational moments that they probably have recognized we have not been good at the last several years, if not maybe all the time. So let's remove that pressure. Let's remove that concern. Let's remove that anxiety, that angst in those moments. Let's make the decision ahead of time, stay with the decision, because that when you're in the moment, that's not the best time to be shooting from the hip, right? I mean, you want to be in a situation where that decision is made, you know what it is, and you go with it. And then the result happens. And then you look back and say, this is what happened. This is what we thought. This is what we planned. It succeeded when we made the decision, or it didn't. Do we need to adjust the plan? Right? So good stuff from Sean McDermott. Hopefully the Mafia can, what did Schrager call him, a punching bag? Hopefully the Mafia can give him a little bit of room to continue to grow, because we're seeing growth in our head coach. Josh Allen, point number 2. I've only got 2 more points. Josh Allen is Superman. I mean, I'm not telling you anything that you don't know. Josh Allen is 100% Superman. The range of emotions during that 26-yard run. I went through it yesterday, and even watching it back today, I failed to kind of like connect to the fact that he's in shotgun, takes the snap, and retreats 3 or 4 yards. So when he starts his rush to gain the first down, which inevitably ends up in a touchdown, he's 10 yards behind the line of scrimmage versus the whole catch the snap and take off immediately thing, right? Which is the John Fina will tell you the quickest, path to 2 points is a straight line. He retreats. So, but going through that whole entire range of emotions, it was of the Superman moments we've seen Josh Allen have. That was this one of the Supermaniest. That's not a word. Please don't tweet me on that one. But I'm still a little bit, I want to say, in awe of just what happened in that moment, and to see him just put this team on his back, because the reality is he didn't have the best day passing, right? And this is something that I've kind of talked about. He made some great throws. He made a couple stinkers as well. And I'm not necessarily putting the interception that he threw on him completely. Dawson Knox clearly stopped his route. There was a miscommunication there. Josh thought he was going to keep going. Dawson thought he was supposed to stop in the hole. And Josh threw it to where Dawson, he thought Dawson was going to be. And meanwhile, Dawson was like, here I am over here. Where's the ball going? Right. So that wasn't necessarily a bad throw. It was just, they just weren't on the same page. But there were some bad passes. He missed Quentin Morris wide open across the middle for what, in my opinion, would have been a sure touchdown. Now, the game ended the way that we wanted it to end. There's no telling if Quentin Morris catches that football, how the game ends. Do they still go on to win? Probably. But at the end of the day, he missed that throw by 10 yards, 8 yards, 10 yards. I'm sitting in the stands, and like it's to my right, and they're going from my left to the right. And I'm looking at Quentin Morris wide open as Josh Allen's like getting ready to release the football. And I'm like, you could, it was that moment in the crowd where you could feel the crowd swell, because the crowd knew that it was coming too. And then it was just a horribly thrown football. Just an awful throw. And it seems like in Josh Allen's motion, I had a conversation with Jay Spence the King that I'm not necessarily willing to share here yet. Just around what I think is kind of going on with Josh. And I think the only thing I'm willing to say or talk about right now is that it just feels like there's a hesitancy at times in Josh's motion in the current structure, the current version of the offense, right? The ground game is incredible. It's dominant. You can trust it. You can rely on it. You can lean on it, which opens up a lot of different things for Josh Allen in the passing game. But the passing game is still something that's a little bit foreign. This version of the passing game, the Joe Brady passing game, is still a little foreign to Josh Allen, right? From what we're used to seeing from him in 2020, 2021, the downfield, accurate, sharp, confident. I know exactly where this ball is. I'm going to fit it in a window, right? If we remember going back, Josh Allen was always a window thrower, right? Window thrower. He waits for guys to flash open. Greg Cosell, when he was on with John Fina, talked about the fact that he wouldn't throw with great anticipation. He waits for a guy to flash, has the arm to get it there, puts and paints the guy with a football. You're looking at a new version of the offense and a new version potentially of Josh Allen, where the big word or the big acronym has been yak, right? We've talked about it for a couple of years. Oh, the Bills need more yak. They're the worst team in the league with yak. Because I think there's this idea that Josh Allen, who's one of the leading passers in the NFL in 2020 and 2021, with 4,000, 5,000 yards, whatever those numbers were. And it's like, imagine if he just had yak, then he'd probably have 7,000 yards. And it feels like those two things can't necessarily coexist at the same time. He's either going to be that precision, like window thrower that hits a guy, that paints a guy with the football when he flashes open, or they want him to work inside of a window with a guy like Khalil Shakir, who's fantastic at this. Hit Khalil and let Khalil make all the moves. All that to say this. I'm tangenting, and I apologize. I feel like there's some hesitancy at times in Josh's moment, where not that he's questioning what he's about to do, but it feels like he might be questioning what he's about, like, right? I don't know if it's that. I don't know if it's everything that I just said about the scheme, about the offense, or if it's a situation where he just doesn't want to make mistakes. There's only so many times you can believe within yourself that you are a good person. I'm a good person. I'm a good person. Your wife, your mom, your dad, your kids can all tell you you're a good person. You're a good person. I'm a good person. I'm a good person. And if enough people chip away at you for enough years and tell you you're a bad person, that eventually tends to creep into your psyche. Where I'm going with this is Josh Allen has been called an inaccurate turnover machine enough times in his life, as far as like college, even to the pros, no matter the accolades, no matter him being called the second best quarterback in the league, possibly right there with 1B. Nobody's going to say he's better than Pat Mahomes, but 1B, 4 AFC championships, all of this stuff. You can only hear that you're a turnover machine and you're not careful with the football and turnover worthy or turnover prone. You can only hear that so many times before after a while it's like, you know what, maybe I could be a little bit better at this, which then allows and then maybe a coach comes in and is like, you could be a little bit better than this. And then all of a sudden you go from playing football and reacting, right, to all of a sudden hesitating and thinking. I just feel like there's a little bit of hesitation in what he's trying to do. And to be honest with you, if I had to lean one way, scheme and fit versus not wanting to make mistakes, I'm probably going to lean towards he doesn't want to make mistakes, which eventually can lead to mistakes. And it doesn't mean it's going to lead to interceptions. It just leads to non-executed plays or missing on plays that they need, like that one with Quentin Morris. As I said, I think on the postgame show 2 weeks ago, it just feels like he's still getting used to or trying to get comfortable inside of this offense, inside of the skin that he's in now, where the Bills are, what his maturity is going to look like. And that's just where I'm going to stick there until I see something different. I will say this, as this offense continues to grow and continues to get better and guys continue to get healthy, I feel like we're going to see Josh push through that. And I think that we're going to see them come together. And I feel like Josh is going to get stronger and better as the season progresses and culminates potentially in the playoffs. It doesn't mean they're not going to lose football games. It just means I think we're going to see better versions of Josh as he continues, because we are seeing it, right? So they're not always huge, giant leaps. A lot of times they're just small steps, right? Small steps in decision-making, small steps in pass, small steps in the amount of mistakes that you made, or the amount of errant throws you made, or the amount of hesitant throws you made. So I feel like we're seeing Josh progress. I just feel like he's still being a little bit hesitant. Last thing, and then I'm going to get you guys out of here. Regarding the number 1 seed and the bye, the Buffalo Bills have what I would consider a manageable schedule coming up, right? The 3 most important games coming up, which they have 6 left. Is that right? So they're 9-2, 11. Yeah, they got 6 games left. The 49ers can be had. The Buffalo Bills can beat the 49ers specifically at home. I believe it's a 1 o'clock football game? Regardless, the Bills can beat the 49ers at home. The Rams are a team that can also be had. That game, I believe, is on the West Coast. The biggest hurdle for the Buffalo Bills right now in their upcoming schedule is the Lions. They've also got the Patriots twice. And then their last game, one of their last games is the Jets, right? Or something like that. So they've got a very manageable schedule as it pertains to fighting for and staying in that AFC the AFC number 1 seed, like the AFC race for the seed. You all know this as well. Guys are getting healthy. The bye is coming at what is absolutely the most perfect time. Coming out of the bye, Milano, Keon Coleman, Kincaid, Spencer Brown, Smoot, Dwayne Carter, and all the just general healing that guys are going to go through, whether it's, Amari Cooper's wrist and just different guys that are nicked up and banged up. All of this healing is going to happen potentially in the next 2 or 3 weeks. We're going to be getting almost an entire half of a roster back and available for this coaching staff and for this team. The Bills have done everything going into the tournament, right, that they can do except getting the first round bye, which I talked about a couple minutes ago. It's the only accomplishment outside of making the Super Bowl that they have not done. They've never gotten the first round bye, that first round seed. And make no mistake, it matters. Like that, not playing wild card weekend for an NFL team makes a difference. It means something. The Buffalo Bills have been in the playoffs 5 years in a row. It's about to be 6. They've been the AFC East champions. I said this already. 4 years in a row. It's about to be 5. They've played in an AFC championship game and a series of playoff wins and exits at different times. They've accomplished a lot, even though people say they've accomplished nothing, including Bills fans. There's a lot of Bills fans The only accomplishment is a Super Bowl win. Otherwise, there's no accomplishments, which is completely crap. I mean, the Bills have done a lot. Five consecutive AFC East championships is a big deal in the NFL. And it's funny because we're in the AFC East. We saw the Patriots do it forever, so it just feels normal. This is what good teams do. You're either the best team in your division for 20 years, or there's not a world that exists otherwise. 5 in a row is not normal. Like, this is very abnormal. But the reality is the Chiefs aren't going away. They've been a postseason problem for the Bills and will continue to be a postseason problem for the Bills until the Bills prove that they're no longer a postseason problem for the Bills. They've got to live in a world. They've got to live in a reality and an identity where they know they can beat the Chiefs in the postseason, right? And I heard somebody say today, that the Buffalo Bills, the best thing that came out of this game, because the Bills have beaten the Chiefs in the regular season before, the best thing that has come out of this game is the fact that the Bills, lacking weapons, realize that they're right there with the Chiefs. They just beat them, and they're lacking weapons. They're lacking players that are crucial to the success of this football team, and they still beat the Chiefs, right, at home. So there's an aspect of having the mindset that, and just the knowledge and the confidence that, no, we can play with these guys, and it's got to happen in the postseason. It's just got to, because the Chiefs are not going away. And the reality is this, and this is where I'm going to finish with you guys today. The Chiefs' schedule isn't easy, but it's not exactly awful either, right? It's kind of like one of those tweener schedules where it looks pretty simple. The hardest game they had coming up was outside of divisional games, which can go any way at any given time, was the Bills game. But their schedule isn't easy. They could slip, right? Or the ball could effectively stop bouncing their way, which it did yesterday in this football game. And regardless, however you want to paint this picture, begin to paint the kind of like the postseason outlook, right? Regardless of how you want to do it, the Bills need to keep stacking wins. And the biggest reason the Bills need to keep stacking wins is because that stacking of wins puts ginormous amounts of pressure on the Chiefs, who are looking over their shoulder at the Bills a half game back. The pressure, we hear it all the time, pressure bursts pipes. And if the Chiefs are constantly looking over, what would the Bills do? And the Bills played before them a lot. What did the Bills do? Well, the Bills won. That means we got to win again. What did the Bills do? They won again. That means we got to win again, right? So this pressure is there's going to be the Bills are living in a luxury of, we're just going to go out and play football. We've already pretty much sewed up the East. We pretty much sewed up the playoffs. We've already beaten the Chiefs, which we pretty much do every year anyway. We're just going to go out and we're going to play football and we're going to try to win games. Meanwhile, them just being lax about it and going and doing their thing and winning football games with confidence is going to put immeasurable amounts of pressure on the Chiefs to stay ahead of them, because they're only a half game out. A half game. The Buffalo Bills are on the Chiefs' heels from here on out. The pressure for the Chiefs multiplies weekly going into the playoffs, right? Once the playoffs happen, if the Chiefs have the number 1 seed, the pressure outside of just tournament pressure is relieved. But the reality is, the more the Bills win, if they continue to win, the more pressure it puts on the Chiefs. And at some point in time, that pressure, you hope, is going to burst a pipe, right? The Bills just need to relax, and this is my last point for you. Buffalo Bills just need to relax and play their game and let the postseason and everything else come to them. Everything that's in front of them, just let it come to them. Just go win. Ladies and gentlemen, you've been tuned into the Aftermath on the Overreaction Sports Network, powered by Believe. Victory Monday, Bills Mafia, brought to you by, and Tuesday and Wednesday and Victory Thursday, and all the way through. There's 2 Victory Mondays in this one. There's Victory Monday again next week. We got 2 Victory Mondays. All Victory Mondays brought to you by Big Bear Barbecue Supply Store. So good to have you guys spending just a couple of minutes with me. I appreciate you all. I love you. Stick around. 8 p.m. this evening, Eastern Standard Time, Monday, November 18th, the Off Tackle with John Fina show. John's going to break down some plays from this game, talk to you about what happened in the trenches. Looking forward to that. Tuesday, On the Beat with Ryan Talbot from the Shout podcast. Wednesday, the Hump Day Hotline with myself, and Jay Spence the King. Thursday, the Big O Show with Jerry Ostrowski. Do me a favor. Please please subscribe on your way out. Please tell a friend. But for me, for John, for Jerry, for all of us here at Overreaction, we appreciate you guys. We love you. Go Bills.